thanks for coming on, agreeing to do the podcast. If you can just give us an introduction of yourself for the listeners and what you do.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, Dave. I know we were meant to do this last week and then the week before that as well. It's been a nightmare at the moment trying to pin me down. So yeah, apologies for having to rearrange. But yeah, no. So for anyone that's listening, my name is Chris Taylor. I've been in business for probably about 3.5 years, and I'm predominantly known, as an Instagram specialist. So someone that basically helps people grow their followings, brands, and businesses using the power of social storytelling content. So we help people unlock the reason why they're doing everything and help them turn from where they currently are, which might be seeing social media content as a chore, and helping them turn it into a bit of a passion that's going to be the biggest lead generation, brand building opportunity there is currently at this current time in the moment. So yeah, I've spent a long time now trying to define that message. And yeah, I spend a lot of my time helping business owners, entrepreneurs, experts, consultants, coaches grow their brand on Instagram so they can then plug it everywhere else. So that's kind of where I've come from, what I do.
Where did it kind of start from you? So you've been in business 3.5 years. Where did the whole Instagram journey start for you then?
Yeah, so it's quite a weird one because I didn't really know what I was doing with Instagram about 2 years ago. I came from a property background. So in February 2018 was when I first started my first company. So two and a bit years ago. And I decided to go into property. I was hit with a YouTube ad about you can get rich quick using this new property strategy. And I ended up at a networking event where I met my business partner at the time. We're no longer in business together, but I met him there. And we just decided that the Airbnb route was the way that we were going to go. So we put our heads together, we went all in on it. And I made the conscious decision to I was watching a lot of Gary Vee at the time. Yeah. And he was a big influence on me as to why my social media grew. And I was taking on his concept of documentation. I thought, you know what, I'll just give it a go. So I'll tell people the story, the good, the bad, the ugly of kind of what I'm doing in my Airbnb business, kind of from a nobody turning into a kind of somebody. And it was quite weird because Facebook and LinkedIn were going quite well for me in terms of like results generating, raising finance for our company and all that sort of thing. But on Instagram, I started to build up this following of people that were really interested in property and what we were doing, but they're also interested in kind of learning, like how to do it. So they were using my content because I was providing so much information, they were just using that to start their own businesses up. And I started to get loads of direct messages in basically saying, Chris, could you mentor me? Chris, can you do this? And to be honest, like I had no inclination of doing it purely because I loved the operations side and the marketing side of the Airbnb business. But we went all in on it. And I remember it because I was out in Miami at a Grant Cardone 10X event, and it was really, really good fun. It was awesome. But I was on the beach, just lying down on one of the days off, and I was just literally pinging DMs to people, just like left, right, and center. And we were selling this like ebook that we put it was an ebook. It was like a service accommodation course in a ebook format, and we were selling it for like 100 quid. Then it was 200 quid. Then it was 300 quid. And we ended up selling 65 grand's worth of it in 8 weeks, like just off one product through direct messaging. It was mental. And from there, I kind of realized that there was something. I had a couple of meetings with my mentor at the time, and he kind of pushed me in the Instagram route. And since then, really, I haven't looked back. So I've been kind of trying to figure out what it is that I do for like a good year and a half. Like I've really been struggling with it. And suddenly now we've kind of got to a point where evaluating everything that I've done, and it was the content that actually made the biggest difference. Everything else was irrelevant. If I hadn't have done the content would, like, my brand would not have built. So we now specialize in that. So that's kind of where it came from. We just did a lot of trial and error, and I'm a big thing of going with my gut, and that's kind of led me okay so far. We're still right.
So in terms of the content, like, because the famous phrase, content is king, isn't it, really? How do people make that step? Everyone wants to be bigger and better on social media. Every business, every personal brand, every coach, every fitness, every PT. Where do you start? How do you create the content? I know that's probably the biggest question you get asked.
Yeah, the biggest thing with it is kind of understanding the reason why. So why you're doing it. So a lot of people have this message and this belief system that they need to create content. Like you say, content is king. Now, people from there will just go out and start putting anything out there online, thinking as long as I'm putting something out, that's all that matters. Now, the problem is with that is people end up seeing it, like I said in the intro, is that they see it as a bit of a chore. So they end up not being consistent, not fully believing in what they're saying. Because normally they'll go into Google or YouTube, look in, like type in their niche and see what's trending and put a piece out on that. And what we kind of do is strip everything back and we start to go back almost to business fundamentals. So it's like, why are you as a business owner, a marketing executive, a salesperson, a customer service exec, why do you even want to use social media? Like, what's the point of it? Because this is going to take a long time. This isn't something that you click your fingers on and it happens overnight. So you need to be brought in and understand your reason why, your purpose and your message. So when you unlock what that is, so for me, it was about kind of that mission is changing people's thought pattern around content. So making them understand the reasons why, and then think about really what it is that they want to be known for, and two, what their audience actually wants from them. Now, normally they do one or the other. They either do what they solely want their audience or they think their audience wants to hear from them, and they end up putting out content that they just don't believe in, or they do it so selfishly for them that no one listens because no one gives a shit. Like everyone is totally irrelevant to what other people want to hear. So we help people find that balance, and it's all starts and all pinpoints from the purpose of everything. So what is it that you want to be known for? What message are you trying to deliver? And how passionate are you about it? So you can then actually do it every single day without it being this thing that just falls part of your daily habits that you don't really care about. And that's kind of the striking point of starting to create meaningful content, is unlocking that purpose. That's the main thing.
Yeah. And once kind of business, and what's the kind of the main people who kind of approach you for the content then? What kind of businesses do you attract, and what are you working with at the moment, and what's working well for your clients?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a big believer in you attract what you like really visualize and go after. So if you'd asked me this 6 months ago, I was very much in the expert business. So like that entrepreneur, coach, expert, consultant world, I really was in there. And I still am to a degree, but I've got a business plan, which is basically working my way up the different levels of businesses. So we start off in the expert and the entrepreneur land. We then work into the SME world. We then deal with the corporate giants. So we want to change the whole dynamic of the way people displaying their message online. I really do want to help them unlock and combine their story with their brand's mission. So, I mean, the current customers that we're dealing with are doing incredibly well. So they are thought leaders, is what we call. They're thought leaders in their industry right now. They came to us as experts. They leave as thought leaders. So people that are being seen every single day, delivering the message that they truly believe in. And the content that they're putting out is kind of a combination of three key elements. The first element is documentation. I guess we'll talk about that quite a bit throughout this, but documentation. So putting their story out there in a way that people actually find it interesting. The second bit then is jumping in on like newsjacking and controversial type elements. So whatever's going on in the world right now, I've got some great examples of how people can leverage that and be able to, even when their businesses are closed. So we've been working with an aesthetics company recently. Their business was closed throughout lockdown, couldn't do anything. But they ran the marketing campaign through, invested quite heavily in their marketing campaign, and they come out of the back of it and they're fully booked all the way through because they told the story throughout lockdown and were almost seen as the pioneers of the industry, driving and being a voice where no one else was speaking. So it's really just positioning and moving them up the scale to put them from maybe in the top 10 of what it is that they talk about and showing them the way that they can get to number one. And it's the way that they tell their story online, the way that they create their content that makes the biggest difference.
And how do you, what I'm interested in is also, it's like, if you sell cars are beautiful if you love cars. If you have a fitness-based business where, good looking bodies, models, men, women, really Instagrammable photos, how do you take a consultant and make a consultant sexy, appealing, interesting when they're selling business consultancy, really?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I get that. I get asked that quite a lot. It's a good question. So I always use the old stereotypical boring accountant. How can a stereotypical boring accountant go onto Instagram, right? Now, we had a great case study again. It was about 6 months, the beginning of lockdown. Now, at the beginning of lockdown, like everybody, let's say like the CBILS movement, the business loans that are available, let's really be honest, no one knew anything about what really they meant, what was going to happen, like no idea. And there was no one talking about it online. There was just the government and Mr. Ricci giving off some statements around what's going to happen and how the world's going to be okay and we're going to get through this and all this sort of thing. But no one really understood how to go about it. Now, when you're a consultant, the biggest thing that you can do is educate. So educate your audience. So come across as the person that's providing that much information that you're the only page that they go to. So again, it's almost a combination of the educator and the reporter. Yeah. So with this accountant that we were working with, we started off, it wasn't just an Instagram account, it was a YouTube account as well. And it was him actually giving out content, giving people a bit of an update every single week on what was going on in the industry. So the latest announcements, using the news as ways to be able to create searchable content. And the thing is with it, when you help people in the time where they need it the most, they're always going to keep coming back. And that's how we take the most boring of industries, especially in the consultancy world, and turn them again into the thought leaders. It's by using the educational piece, using the right hashtags, the right strategies behind the scenes to push the content up. So when they're being searched for, when their solution's being searched for, they're the account that shows. And that's the little sweet spot.
And you talked about newsjacking. For the people who don't know what that is, or the people who are wanting to grow and to open up their network, what is newsjacking?
So newsjacking is pretty much jumping on a headline. So you will see loads of different like topics that are being spoken about in the news, like loads of different stuff. So we've had, over the last year, we've had Brexit, we've had the Black Lives Matter movement, we've had coronavirus and the pandemic that's coming. We've now got the recession. So like there's so many different things that are going on in the world that are being spoken about globally. So not just in the UK, but globally. And then there'll also be stuff that goes on in your industry specific magazines, articles, forums, websites, YouTube channels. So there's always news going on. And what you need to do as a thought leader, a pioneer, as someone that's trying to come across as the number one go-to person in the industry is make sure that you're talking about those topics. So giving your opinion. And people always are, like I say, they always worry about being slightly controversial on these. Like, there is nothing wrong with being controversial online. Being controversial online, as long as you're okay with having good and positive feedback, because good and negative feedback, because that is what's going to come, then it's a great way to be able to generate traffic. Because I will always try, again, if I've got an opinion, I don't care, I will say it. That's just the way that I am, the way that I've been brought up, the way that I'm bred. And I guess that's what's enabled me to unlock this way of being able to produce content. So newsjacking is just jumping on that headline that comes out that it's either related nationally, internationally, or in your industry to be able to generate awareness, reach, engagement, and traffic.
Yeah, great. So in terms of kind of the tips of somebody wanting to, in fact, we'll strip this question back first of all. Everyone looks on social media now and thinks, how big's the following? How many people follow me? Is it important to have a massive following? First question.
It's not, no. I mean, the way that I always like to put it is I'd actually rather have a loyal group of 500 to 1,000 followers that really believe in what I'm saying and buy into my brand, my mission, my message, than have 1 million people that just don't care. And that's the balance. So again, is it important to have a big following? It's good if you do, but only if they are interested into the message you're delivering. And everyone has to start from somewhere. The most important thing is that you do actually get started, because that consistent momentum is the only way that you're going to be able to grow.
So why do you think everybody wants to go down that influencer route then? What is it with the becoming an influencer and, the big followings? Because you're right, and I get what you're saying, is you'd rather have a small group of fanatics, if you like, almost fans who like and comment and want to buy your products. Or what about the other side of the thing, where we see people with 1 million, 2 million followers endorsing products? Does that work? Is that working? Is that going to change?
I believe it does work. It definitely has fundamental and a place in the industry. When you've got a follower, so I work with a couple of people that have just walked off the Love Island TV show, for instance, and they go from having maybe 5,000 followers on Instagram, so having a bit of a brand, but then walking off with 500,000, 750,000, a million people that have watched them on this show unveil who they really are, buy into their brand, their message, their story. Because again, like TV is another form of being able to build your brand. No matter what the TV show is, exposure is always going to generate attention. And what you really need to focus on with the influencer world is not everybody is going to be able to get to 500,000, 750,000, a million followers, and so on and so forth. And not everyone wants to either. Like not everybody wants that level of attention. And the industry works. Now, the best influencers out there, the people that do the right job, are the people that are endorsing the products that they actually believe in. So you'll notice the big people out there, like, so let's say like a Kim Kardashian. There's a lady called Charli D'Amelio who's just been blown up on TikTok and is now on Instagram. She's everywhere. She's massive. Big influencers out there. They're endorsing products that they believe in, products that they're developing on their own, and that influencer world is great. Now, the place where I deal in, like real specialise in, yes, I have the influencer side to our company, but ultimately for this podcast, I guess the thing that really matters is the size of your following is irrelevant if they don't care about what you're talking about. So it's really honing in on your unique message that you really want to embody and drive out to the world and help people with, and only caring about the people that are listening right now and trying to generate and use the strategies that are going to bring in more of those types of people. Now, if that grows to be 1 million, amazing. However, you need to take it in baby steps and understand that building a brand takes a bit of time. And if you want the shortcut, you've got all the different alternative channels where people already know who you are, which you can use to drive into your Instagram account, your YouTube channel, your Facebook page. And you use that to be able to build up your following. You just need to have content strategies for each of the platforms. It's quite simple.
Yeah. And in terms of creating a content strategy, would you advise businesses, and are you advising your businesses to run ads as part of that strategy? And how do you guys utilize ads, and are they as effective as they were?
It depends on the industry, if I'm being entirely honest. So there's some industries, and again, it depends on how you target and your budget and the way that you frame it. So there's a lot of variables in there. On average, yes, ads are one of the most, we do advocate them. We do use them. It's a great way to be able to get traffic for really, really cheap. I guess the biggest thing with advertising is making sure that you, one, have a clear step-by-step process of how someone goes from seeing a bit of content that you put a budget behind through to you actually getting a return on your money. Because a lot of people throw money at ads with no strategy at the back end. So actually, yes, they're getting a load of attention and awareness, but they have no way of actually harnessing that attention and awareness to turn that into actual revenue, which you can then use and calculate a true ROI on. So I think the biggest thing is understanding your product showcase. So what is it at any one time that you're looking to promote? And this is the biggest issue in the industry right now, is that lots of people have multiple different products. They have loads of different products and services that they're all trying to sell all at once. Now, the issue is with the advertising is that if you're not actually running a campaign that's combined, so you have an organic strategy, a paid strategy, and a product that are all linked together, your story does not flow. So what happens is people aren't engaged throughout the whole of the process and end up you're not getting the most profitable return on your money. So what we're working with people on is having really strict, defined, narrow audiences which we're targeting, and hitting them with the bespoke product or service, which ties in with an organic content campaign and a paid content campaign, because they're very different. Paid campaigns are very more direct. They're very more showing the story of what's going on behind the brand. And the actual storytelling, content creation, organic campaign is a bit more algorithm friendly. So people that are actually wanting to watch it to either be educated, entertained, or informed. That's the kind of way that we approach it. And when they're separate, they aren't as powerful, but when they're combined, you create this huge marketing machine, which again, as long as you've got the right products behind it and people are interested in them, and you're targeting the right people, you've literally got a money-making machine built, ready to be able to be used.
Here's an interesting question for your thoughts on. So we now see a number of business owners, and someone like myself, for example, I have a number of different businesses, from recruitment, training, commercial training, But on Instagram, I kind of represent something probably more myself. Are you seeing more and more business owners or entrepreneurs kind of trying to grow their own personal brand? I'm going to use a prime example of this as Stephen Bartlett as a prime example of, massive business, which, just stepped away from. But on social media, I know him as him. Because of then him, I know which business he represents, and then his podcast and things like that. What is the importance of that, and why are we seeing more of that?
The biggest reason is, I personally believe, this is just an opinion, and I don't factually know if this is correct or not, it's just my thought pattern behind it. Business becomes easier to do with people when you know the person that you're talking to. So I always use the example, let's take us two, right? Like, we know each other, we've done business together before, we know how each other operates. And if I was to bring you another product or service because you've experienced what I've done with you before, you may be more likely to, or unlikely to, actually then do business with that person, right? Because you know each other. Whereas if I was completely cold and you had never seen me before, you didn't know who I was, I could be literally anyone working through the door, there's automatically that barrier up that makes it that you've got to get across. Now, you can get across it, but it adds in that layer of time. So if we take Stephen Bartlett, for instance, he opened up his Diary of the CEO 2 years ago. And incredible podcast. I've literally listened to it. I joined 3 months into in launching that. I've been a massive fan of his. Yeah. I'm trying to get him for my podcast at the moment. So if you're listening, Stephen, I'm coming for you. I will get you. You will be on my show. All those positive affirmations and all that. But the biggest thing with it is, with your personal brand and your personal story, it's a way for you to be able to trend easier, because this is a known fact. Personal brands trend better on these social media platforms than business brands do, because the business brands aren't very, very effective. Even the corporate conglomerates, the huge businesses, find it very, very difficult to create content that people engage and relate with, because they're not very good at attaching emotion to their content. Whereas with personal stories, we relate a lot easier as human beings. So we find it easier to engage with, because we can put ourselves in that other person's position and feel some sort of emotion with whatever it is they're trying to tell us in their story. Now, what Stephen Bartlett's been able to use is the traffic that he's built up on his personal profile to subtly, and it's strategically done, subtly mention his journey in Social Chain. Now, he never directly pitches Social Chain or talks about the products and the services that they deliver, but he subtly lays it in your subconscious in his content, and the Diary of the CEO, in his Instagram, in his YouTube account. So you wonder what it is that they do. Now, his then back office, his strategic business plan with Social Chain is then attractive enough to make sure that his websites, his online assets, then pull you in as a potential consumer and customer, and then attach you by that way. So by leveraging the personal brand, you bring in traffic that you would never have brought in before. You're bringing more traffic than you've ever brought in before. And by subtly having the strategic plan behind it to make sure that you're mentioning your businesses, not pitching about them, but mentioning them, you can generate the awareness and attention. So it's almost a shortcut, but a way for us also as human beings to build deeper relationships with our followers, because we can tell stories that they relate to.
So there's a great bit of advice in there, as well as, so if you're on Instagram and you're operating as your personal brand, don't pitch your business, but always subtly tie in your business and always kind of pull them into your business. So everything you do is yourself and your day, because your Instagram, it's you in the gym, but then also you're putting out some educational content on Instagram on how to grow, on how to engage, and then obviously it's you as well. So you're building your personal brand, but also tying it in nicely with your business and your back office as well, aren't you?
So totally. And I think I found it quite difficult actually recently, over the last month or so, because one, I've been trying to find that balance, because I've been trying to work out if my audience just follow me for the Instagram education or they follow me for my story and what's going on behind the scenes. And I made the decision actually. So I've got 38,000 followers on my account. And I thought a lot of them, my engagement was higher on my Instagram education than it was my actual personal story stuff. And I thought, do you know what? I'll make the decision just to trial it, to move that account and solely just give it education out. That is an Instagram education account. It's got my face behind it, but it's just Instagram tips. And then I'm going to create a new account, which is my story, just to test like where my following's at, like how it's going to work. And this has just come from the statistics of that. I then put polls on both. So in Instagram stories, you can ask the questions to your followers of what they prefer. And I had over 700 people vote on my account telling me to bring my personal stuff back, because the Instagram education stuff, when I looked at the engagement, was trending better because the algorithm was being warmed by the people that are like engaging in my personal brand. So my Instagram education is trending further because people are still connected to my story. So if that's not the power of a personal brand, I don't know what it is, even if it just gives you that added level of engagement. Like we had an 80-20 split on those votes. So we had over 620 odd people say bring back your story, compared to 80 people that were like, no, keep it split. And you just go with the masses, and it's been brilliant ever since.
Yeah, great. And you mentioned your podcast. So where did the idea of the podcast come around? And tell the listeners the name of your podcast and where the idea from yours came from.
Yeah, so I've actually got two now. I've just launched a new one along the side. So I've got Brand You, which me and Jack Wicks runs, a guy called Jack Wicks, and we were bored in lockdown. I'm not going to beat around the bush. We were really bored in lockdown, and we've always had the idea of doing something together. And Brand You was built off the back of both of us being in the property industry, building our businesses very, very quickly, using our personal brands. So what we wanted to do, it was a strategic marketing ploy, because when you've got a podcast, you can attract guests on. You ask them to do like an Instagram live, never ever going to do it. Ask them to come on your YouTube channel, never going to do it. You ask them to do a podcast, oh yeah, I'm in. And we've just found that we've got access to so many people by having one. So Brand You brings on personal brands that have done very, very well in business. And then we also give our kind of thoughts on the different platforms, how they work. And we're on Spotify and iTunes. And then I also have Straight to the Point, which is a short, sharp, pretty much diary of a CEO. Like, it was taken from Stephen Bartland's concept of what he does. And I spend a lot of time in the car, like hours driving from place to place, even with the likes of Zoom, even in lockdowns. I love to drive as well. So I have a lot of time on my own, thinking time. And I don't know if anyone else relates to it, but for me, it's like where I'm actually, ironically, the most creative. And what I've just thought to myself is, what I'm going to do is just every time that I'm in the car, just talk about how I'm feeling that day as an entrepreneur, as someone that's struggling or doing well or whatever's going on, giving some education, some advice, almost to myself, that self-reflection type thing.
Yeah.
And a podcast hopefully it's going to be every day. I've set the benchmark to be every other day, but that 5 to 10 minute entry just on enabling me to do a brain download, because I've had so many people wanting to hear them when I've sent them out to people before, and they just said, turn it into a podcast. So Straight to the Point is my latest show as well.
And is that just going to be you on your own, or is the aim to then get guests as well? Or is it just going to be a little bit of just
not
how
sure.
you're feeling?
Yeah, not sure yet. We'll see. I mean, my aim originally was just going to be my story out there. I just think it'd be quite cool just to have that story from start to finish. Like, I've got huge goals, huge objectives, and it'd be quite cool to just document that day by day on an audio platform like Spotify. I'd love to do the video, but the amount of grief you get and the wrongness of recording video whilst driving these days is never great to
I suppose if you have a little video camera set up in your car where it's not really affecting you, it's always recording, and then you edit it down, you're always going to get some shit online, aren't you? So.
Always going to. So I'm debating it. So I've got like a mount in my car. So I have got all the video footage, because I do record my life is put on. There's certain bits that I don't have on record, but the majority of it is all on record, because I'm a big believer in you actually shouldn't need to spend time creating any content at all. Like, everybody always says this to me. It's like, I don't have time to create content. But I'm like, well, what do you do every day? Like, so we go back to the original thing. What are you trying to achieve from your social media content that you need to create? What are you doing day to day? And really, if those two don't marry up, then you're not really going to be able to get there. It's going to be a really big struggle. Now, if you're going down the personal brand route, all you need to do is open the cameras up, turn the cameras on, and just show people you going about what you do day to day. Whether that's on a podcast like this, whether it's doing a one-to-one consultancy session with a client, whether you're out and about, just turn the cameras on and then just do a little bit of editing work behind the scenes, and you'll never have to create content again in your life. So even this, like this is recording right now. Like I've got my phone up, it's set, it's recording. So this will give me content, like I say, drip fed out over the next 3 months, little tips, tricks. Like it's not complex when you can just understand the ways in which to strategically make your diary a place where it's contentful.
Do you know, if you'd have asked me a number of months ago, I would have thought, who wants to know what I'm doing on a daily basis? I think I live a very, very boring life. You know, I take my kids to football 6 out of 7 days a week, the football mad. You know, I come into the office, I do my job, but then I had a meeting just after lockdown with a guy who was running a business, and the very simplest things, he just started a business, the very simplest things which I took for granted, he was asking me these questions and my mind was blown. I was thinking, how do you not know how to do this? How do you not know this? Like, my mind was absolutely blown. And then I thought to myself, everyone is at a certain level in business. And the more you scale it, you know, I know you're into your self-development. The more you develop yourself, the more you know. And you only know what you know. And this guy just didn't know some of the simplest things. And I thought, you know, you've just touched on it there, doing your podcast of you 10 minutes in the car every day, your struggles, what you're going through. That will help a shitload of people who are going through that same struggle or are 12 months, 18 months down the line before where you are, which will help people. And where there's one, there's hundreds of thousands of people who would be helped by that content. So that is a massively, if you can keep that up, that is a good idea, because the amount of thoughts that go through my head on a daily basis, ideas, business ideas, ways to scale, ways to grow, ways to save money. You're right, if I just got my phone out and just started recording and just went, right, this is an idea me and Sean's got in their office, blah, 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 we're going to do this. It's going to help someone. Yeah. You just don't realise. And I think one of the biggest things that I've got from you, and you know, I did your course and we have done business, and I tell everybody about your course now, because I got so much from it being, you know, I'd never really used Instagram, but I got so much from doing your small little 30-day challenge, if you like, that it was worth the coppers that I paid for it. And I just thought there was so much value in that course. And now I tell everyone. And there's so much value in just doing them little stories. But the biggest thing I got from you is consistency. How do you get there consistently? Because through lockdown, I was very consistent. We did the 30-day challenge. I was motivated. And then, you know, something happened in my personal life with my mother. We lost my mother in the end of July. And since then, I've kind of struggled to get that consistency back. So how do you deal with your clients on that consistency?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest challenges. Now, it's the one thing that people actually pay us the most money for, if I'm being totally honest, is the consistency and the accountability. So I always say with that challenge, because it's a small investment really, but it's not a money maker for me. It's a commitment fee is how I kind of frame it, because if people don't actually invest in it, they won't turn up and they won't do it. Whereas when there's that value exchange, people buy in. And with structure, it all comes down to, again, really what I said right at the beginning, like, what is it you're looking to get out of social media? What do you want to be known for? Because when you know what that is, you can then build the framework around it to talk about certain elements of your life. So again, I talk about so many different things, from Instagram education. There's about 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 different topics that I can talk about with Instagram education. I then talk about personal development, all the different stuff then. And I basically create this plan of all the different subject areas that I can talk about. And what happens is that I look at my diary and I go, because my diaries are planned out, I'm quite organised and OCD, and I like my clients to be as well. What have you got coming up this month? Where's the plan? What are you looking to achieve? What's the product or the service you're looking to kind of build upon this month? And what we then do is, with the personal brand, which we're kind of focusing on here, it's like day by day, you need to just put out, like we use Asana for our project management, task management stuff. It's a free tool. It's brilliant. And all we do is Instagram content, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, all the way down 30 days. And we think to ourselves, what message am I trying to deliver? And what do my audience want to know? And the thing that we're good at, and there's something that I am good at, and it's 100%, it's pulling ideas out of people and turning what they say, asking the right questions to be able to pull out and create content. That's what my agency does. It pulls those ideas out of people's heads, because that's normally the biggest barrier. And I just get them to talk. So talk about the stuff that interests you. Like in this podcast in here, you spoke about numerous things that we can turn into content really, really easily, because you're passionate, you're fired up, you're in there. And we just create that 30 days, because if you don't have a plan, it's a bit like going to the gym. Like if I go to the gym without a plan of what I'm going to do, my workout will not be as effective compared to if I went in there with, today I'm doing, like this week I'm doing push, pull, legs. That's my split. Like my push workout, shoulders, chest, tricep, bang, in, and I'm done, I'm out. Whereas if I go in there kind of like willy-nilly and kind of go like, oh, I'll walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes, I'll do a few bicep curls, like get in the gym, like that sort of thing. I walk out and I'm either 50% as efficient, or I find a reason not to go because I don't know what I'm doing. So that consistency, that content plan, that 30 days of content, again, there's a reason why my challenge is 30 days, is if you can do it for 30 days and prove to yourself that you can be consistent, getting that structure of what you're going to talk about, you can load up your Asana in the morning and go, okay, cool. So I've not done that video yet. How can I do that video? Okay, so I need to talk about the power of direct messaging for Instagram. Okay, so what do people want to know when it comes to direct messaging? Okay, cool. Who do I know that needs some help with direct messaging right now? Message them, get a call booked in. I just record the call because I find it awkward doing these videos face to face. And I force myself to create content by putting it into my diary and having the content plan so I never run out of ideas. That's how you remain consistent.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think you're right in the gym. You know, I think everyone always performs better if they're being PT'd, if they're in a class, because somebody has structured their session for them. And it's a bit like you in creating content. If we were on here now creating content, you would be structuring our session. I would be delivering the message in a passionate way, because that's what I love talking about in business, and getting all that content. Where if it was just me sat at home, I'd go, right, what do I talk about here? Like, there's so much in business can go wrong. Yes. And sometimes I always think, like going back to the analogy of meeting this guy who just started a business, I think everybody just knows how to do that, don't they? Everyone knows. Like the amount of people that blows my mind who are still not on LinkedIn. Yep. You've got a business and you're not using LinkedIn. Like what do you do? I generate a shit ton of business from LinkedIn, not so much by Instagram, where you're on the Instagram route and the DM route on Instagram, where LinkedIn is like happy hunting ground for me. I've got my hunting rifle out and I'm going for it, where some people don't use it, and I'm thinking, my mind is blown when you don't use LinkedIn.
It's ridiculous. Like how simple we perceive things to be, when you said it before, like you only know what you know. And I always talk to this about coaches, and when people want to become a coach, it's like you only really need to be 10% ahead of someone to be able to help them move forward. And as long as you're consistently developing, there's money to be made online because you are delivering a service that people find value from. Sometimes the best startup coach businesses, the best startup coaches are the people that have literally just gone through that process right there. And it's because they know what other people need to know right at this very moment. Yeah. And it's so powerful.
What I think on the coaching side is, I see a lot of coaches out there, and there is a lot of coaches out there you can go to, is one, you need to find the right one for you, because there's different levels. And you're right, if you just find someone that's 10% better than you, because I sometimes look at coaches online and go, how the hell is this like a coach? I mean, what's his background? He's done nothing, but he will be helping somebody, because he is at a stage that he maybe couldn't help me, but he will help people that is, further down the line who haven't quite achieved as much yet. So the kind of the power of coaching is so helpful. And the reason that I enjoy the coaching side is because as a business owner, you do your kind of your targets and where you are financially, where you're operating as a business. Helping somebody else achieve something is much more rewarding than achieving it yourself. And I find myself is probably going down that coaching route, not because I have to, I want to, and I need to make money out of it, because I actually feel more fulfilled when I see somebody else achieve something than I do when I achieve it myself. So I think
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's exactly the reason that I do it. There's a reason why in my challenges I go live like 3 to 4 to 5 times a week. Like I don't do it because I'm some sort of fanatic that literally lives. Like I just love seeing people making progress. And again, it's not a massive money maker. It's great. It's a lovely little bit of side income. But ultimately, I'd rather like someone like a Joe Britton, who is a mentee of mine, doing the 30-day challenge and then coming to me and saying she's just landed a £12,500 contract. Like she's earned 4 times what she paid me for a one-to-one mentorship in a month. Like, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Well, can you teach me how to do that as well? Because like even that sort of result is like, it blows my mind when people just put what we're practicing and take it to an even bigger level. It's insane. And that level of fulfillment, you're right, I don't think you get it from, I get it from 2 things. Helping my cricket team with cricket coaching, football team with football coaching, and my business coaching. That's my element of fulfillment that I get when I see someone just get that result or get that slightly bit better. I love it.
And also the thing is with social media is, what I love about social media is people always say, Eve, have you seen such and such? He's absolutely killing it right now. And I know some people on social media who are absolutely killing it, but I know them personally and
They're not.
they're nowhere near killing it. And that is the beauty of it, is always push out that great message, because when people think you're killing it, they're more likely to use you as well, aren't they? They're more likely, if your business is always outward facing, look at this, celebrate this, we're doing that, chances are you could be doing nothing. But if you look like you're doing well, you attract people who want to do well, don't you?
You do. Perception's a weird thing, isn't it? Like when you're watching someone's life online and you go, oh my God, I cannot believe they've managed to do that. I was just having a conversation with, and I'm from Northampton, so down south from where you guys are. But, I was having a conversation with a guy that was in my primary school. We were in the smallest primary school, I'm pretty sure, in the country. There was like 40 kids in the primary school.
Yeah.
And he was about 4 years ahead of me. And he started a barbering academy. He's got a barber's franchise and all that sort of thing. And we were just talking to each other, and it's like, there isn't many people like from our town that can say they've done what we've done at our age. And also, we don't know who they are, because if they have, they've not told anyone about it. So again, like the reason why Stephen Bartlett's social chain was able to grow and grow and grow, and like is now worth hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds, is because everyone knows about them. Like the more attention that you can get, and especially positive attention, the more opportunity is going to come your way. I always talk about, I stole this from a lady called Sam Raffling. She's a business partner of mine, and she is incredible with what she does, but she has a formula that was slightly adapted. So she says, the more visible you are, the more credible you become, the more opportunity that then comes your way. So if you miss any one of those formulas, you're missing out on opportunity. So again, putting content together in the right way will enable you to enhance the amount of times you are visible. We'll go into a level of detail which boosts that credibility even further, which again creates further opportunity. So again, it's an incredible way to be able to generate business, especially when you are putting out and also doing what it is that you're meant to be doing at the same time, because perception only gets you somewhere. Substance is what you need. And when combined, you create businesses like Gymshark, like Social Chain. Like they come from the combination of substance and actually putting in that perception to be able to drive the traffic forward.
So coming towards the end of this podcast, give us some helpful tips, advice. So if for the people sat listening, they want to get onto Instagram and use the platform professionally, where do they start? What's the kind of key tips? What's the kind of plans they should be looking at?
Yeah, so the best place to always start is to think about what it is you want to be known for. Like we really started on this podcast. You've noticed I've said it throughout. Understand why you're using it, because unless you understand why, you will give up. From there, I always say there's no point trying to create something brand new. So have a look at what your competitors are doing. Have a look at what people who have got the same sort of target market are doing. Look at the different ways they work their profile. So look at the profile images that they use. Look at my profile, for instance. Look at the way that I lay out my bio. Look at the website that I'm driving people to. Look at the content that I'm putting out. Look at the stories that I'm telling on there. And then put your own spin, your own unique message, and understand what you need to do to be able to do it. So use other people for inspiration. That's really, really big, because again, there's no point creating something that's already been done well. You just do it with your own unique spin.
Yeah.
And then from there, look to network. It's really, really a weird concept here, but social media networking is the biggest opportunity to talk to other people there is out there on this planet right now. And the amount of people, and again, I'm sure 99% of your users, like listeners, 99.9% most likely, have probably accepted a connection request, had an Instagram follow or a Facebook friend that has added them, and then they've never spoken to that person ever again. Like we take that and we take that into the real life world, we'd be calling that other person all the names under the sun for being so ignorant and so obnoxious, not saying hello. However, online, it's okay to do so. So again, if you just take those concepts of everyone that you connect with, just send an introductory message to, always have this fundamental message behind it, is to say you never actually know who you're talking to. You never know who is at the other end of that screen. I've had so many opportunities come to me from the beginning of my property investment journey to my social media agency and my Instagram education that I never thought were possible, just from reaching out and saying hello to someone that's decided to follow, connect, or become a friend with me on one of the social media platforms. So never be afraid to network, communicate with your target market, produce content that they want to see, that you truly believe in, and make sure your profile actually says what it is that you're going to be providing on that account. And from there, you'll create the perfect formula to be able to develop an Instagram strategy that will generate you results.
Great advice. Great advice. And you know that is key, because the amount of times we get a request or a follower or a friend request, and then they just sit silent in the background. And the thing is, and I always think when you first connect with somebody, you start seeing their content more, because Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever it is, pushes you. The algorithms say these guys want to see what each other are about. So I think that is the time to strike hot as well, isn't it? Because they've obviously came for a reason or requested you for a reason. It's then to find out that reason why. And I think not enough people call it social media, but people are not very social on it, I find.
Yeah, they are very ignorant, is how we always say it. So it's like people use it selfishly, and the people that use it selfishly, ironically, don't get any results. You look at the best of the best out there. Look at a Gary Vaynerchuk. He is 100% honestly the most sociable person on that platform going. He makes a conscious effort to reply to every comment, reply to every direct message, produce content that's on a value-giving level. And look at the size of his business. Look at the most successful and understand what they do, mirror them, and you'll be able to get similar results from it. That's the power of being able to foresee that and apply those techniques.
So what's the next 12 months, 2 years like for Chris Taylor? Then where you going? What's happening?
So I mean, the biggest thing for me is the content game. That's where we're really looking to go. My book's due for release. The content game, it's due for release in, I think it's about 2.5 months' time, something like that. So it's all about understanding the game of social media content, and how actually you can't just do it willy-nilly these days. You've got to have a unique strategy behind everything that you put out. And it's really trying to get people, experts, business owners, corporate conglomerate, like the big monsters out there, to understand the power of a story. So people, I think, have neglected it. They've gone, you look online these days, there's big pitch fests, products being pushed left, right and centre, and the best of the best connect the reasons why they're doing it all.
How does it, like, just on that, because, you know, the content game is a great name for a book, and it is a game. Social media is a game, life's a game, business is a game. It's just how well you play it. And I always think, a lot of people, me included, I'm foul with this, is I double down on everything in business. But I don't put the same effort into my social media, so it doesn't grow. There's no energy going in that direction, so it doesn't grow. Where my business will grow because my energy's going here. So I know if I want to grow my socials, energy's got to go there. If I was a big corporate business, it's easy for me to put a story on of, you know, going to the gym, kids, a little bit of work, a little bit of content. How does a Next or a BMW or how does a big, massive brand, household brand, use the story game so people almost feel like they know who they are as well?
Yeah, so that's the big thing, right? That's the unique source that we are really diving into with these companies right now. Not quite reached the level of BMW, but the SMEs that we're working with, that's exactly what we're tying into. And again, it's understanding the real core message behind your product and service, and opening up the reasoning why it's so good. So I don't know if you've ever seen the story of Gymshark. I don't know how well you know that story, but
Yeah.
so the reason why they were so big is through the power of social media marketing and connecting not just their brand story, but influencer stories with it. Like they're tying in other people's audiences with it. So when it comes to the BMW type world, it's like looking at the problems that they solve, really stripping that back to what is it that they're trying to accomplish from their brand. Because you can get any car. Why would you go down a BMW route? Next is the same. Like you can buy clothes from anywhere. Why would you buy it from them? It's not actually a product-based thing with those businesses. It's emotionally connecting them with their end users. Now, we've all heard the negative connotations with BMW drivers, right? We all know it. Now, that's something that's stuck through stories that people have told about BMW drivers. It's something as so simple as that. So with these companies, it's about understanding where they can get the next level of attention from. So pairing them with the right influencers that believe in their brand, pairing them with the right small micro influencers that can push their brand further. And when it comes to the content, it's about thinking about what people perceive about their brand and creating storytelling, video, photo, graphical content which pulls that in and gets people to react emotionally. That's the thing that these companies are quite missing. And then that's the brand message. When you take that then to the sales force and the marketing teams, sales and marketing completely bang heads against each other every single day of the week. They're always fighting with each other. It's about turning salespeople into brand ambassadors. That's the key message that we're trying to do. There's a whole piece on that we're working on internally. But it's about understanding and making your sales team their own marketing department, getting them to spread their message also.
And that is the key, isn't it, in business? You'll have these big, massive players, they'll have massive marketing departments, or they'll have a marketing department, but they're in an office somewhere in London or Manchester or Leeds or Newcastle. They're not really on there. I always think your marketing team need to be integrated with your foot soldiers. So if it's next, they need to be in the stores. Who are the personalities who work there? Who are because you're right, you're more likely to take a shine to Sally who works in Sunderland store because she's absolutely off it. So you get video content from Sally, then you've got leads, I think that could work. And I definitely think if you're going down that, there is a niche. Businesses need that kind of advice because they ain't getting it, because they're in pushing that, especially the big brands in pushing their stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they're just complacent, quite simply. And it's not going after number ones in the industry. It's going after numbers 5, 4, 3, and 2 who are chasing number one, who are willing to innovate, willing to make the change and embrace it. And it will get them there. I know it will, because I've seen it through other stuff that I've done in the past. And it's just dropped off the radar for some reason. And my message in my next 12 months, 18 months, 2 years is working up to my brand, so at a level where I can walk through those doors with confidence and credibility, with the visibility that I've created, to know that they're going to listen to me. That's my mission for the next 12, 24, 36 months.
Good. Well, if anyone who's listening wants to reach out, wants to find out where you are, where can they find you? What's your
best place will be Instagram. That's where I spend the majority of my time. I respond to everything that goes on there. So christaylor.ig is the handle for that. And the 2 podcasts, Brand You and Straight to the Point, they are searchable: Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. And again, in terms of if people want to contact me, we can put this in. If they want to have any advice or conversations, hello@instagrammatics.com is the email that people can drop an email to. We always respond to those inquiries. Always in.
Are you running another 30-day challenge? Are they still running?
Yeah, it started yesterday. So we always say people can join up until the end of week 1. I think you'll know at the end of week 1, things start to take a little bit and the heat up in terms of intensity. So yeah, the link is always bit.ly/IGM1000, 30 days of Instagram brand building, storytelling and content creation training, enabling you to unlock your purpose, your mission and your story.
Great. Thanks very much, Chris.
Pleasure, mate.
Cheers, mate.